Tick, 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 tick. Time is running out. Today is April 15th, also known as Tax Day.
To talk more about it, Brandon Arnold is the Executive Vice President at the National Taxpayers Union, and Tim Dosher is the Executive Director for Unleash Prosperity. Great to have you. Good morning.
Morning.
So, Brandon, we're going to start with you. So, although it's tax day, can you share some last-minute tips for those filing today or for those that's in need of asking for an extension because, you know what, they ran out of time?
Yeah, well, a lot of taxpayers already have an extension. The IRS granted an extension to residents of certain states that were affected by natural disasters. So if you're a resident of Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Los Angeles County, there's a good chance that you already have an extension granted to you by the IRS. So double check before you go to scramble to do your taxes last minute. You may not actually have to file them today.
So when is that deadline?
Yeah.
It varies based on which state you're in. So if you're in Florida, North Carolina, Alabama, you have a couple extra weeks to May 1st. If you're in Los Angeles County, you actually have until October. So it varies based on where you are, based on how hard the natural disasters hit your area. And there's several other affected states, certain counties in West Virginia, certain counties in Virginia. So make sure you check the IRS website to find out where you are, which county you're in, and exactly what that date is, so you don't scramble and make a mistake filing your taxes when you actually have more time than you realize.
Good point.
Great point. Okay, so turning to some more positive news here, Tim. Inflation fell to 2.4% in March. This is the lowest in 4 years. This can't be a coincidence, though, because this is exactly what Donald Trump was stressing in terms of his mandate. He wanted to bring down inflation. He already did. But do you think this will affect Jerome Powell in terms of how he will ultimately cut rates, as well as the market in general? Because we know it's been a pretty volatile one.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when you talk about this, the inflation number, you think about what Trump was saying on the campaign trail that was panned by almost every single person on the left saying, oh, no, that's not going to do it. He talked about energy. He talked about energy production. He talked about making things cheaper to move across the country, get them to the stores, and it's working. The posture from Washington, D.C. To get drilling, to get moving, to open up to, hey, we're going to do leases, we're going to do all that stuff. This is working, and we need to do a holistic view, obviously, of the economy, not just energy. But I do think that that's a positive sign, and it is working. Now, in terms of the Fed, I think that there's a lot of factors in the jobs report that might say, give a sign that we hold steady. If we were to see a bad jobs report, that may see a sign that we would cut rates. But I think at this point right now, all the signs that I'm seeing from the Fed say that we're going to hold steady, and we'll go month by month.
Brandon, President Calvin Coolidge said that the chief business of America is business. And when you look at, especially our youth and as well as adults, they lack a lot of basic fundamentals when it comes to financial matters. But April is National Financial Literacy Month, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent discussed this important issue.
I think financial literacy or financial security is the American dream. And everyone in this room can do to help. Treasury, if you have ideas, bring them to Treasury. This is Financial Literacy Month.
Financial literacy is the foundation for the American dream. And you know what? I think two things should happen with regard to our education system. You should not receive a diploma or degree unless you can pass a civics test and a basic fundamental financial literacy test. Why? Because those two things will empower you to take part of our republic electoral process, as well as set you on the right and proper track to fulfill your American dream. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think financial literacy is so important. I think it needs to be coupled with some prosperity, and those things often go hand in hand because right now personal savings rates are abysmally low. People aren't saving money like they ought to. And you can speak to financial literacy, which I think is part of it, but also people have just been walloped by inflation. People don't have the resources that they would like to squirrel away in their savings account, their 401k, or what have you, because they need that money to pay for their utilities or to pay for their groceries or so forth. So we need economic growth. We need better education. Obviously, our education system is lagging, K through 12. That needs to be improved dramatically. I think you're absolutely right. Focusing on financial literacy will go hand in hand with greater prosperity in this country and encourage people to make sound financial decisions that right now they are not making, whether they can't afford to or whether they don't know how to.
And it'll also help them to stay away from scams and other predatory things. Totally.
Definitely. Well, still discussing Secretary Bessent, a new poll reveals that Secretary Scott Bessent is the most popular member of President Trump's administration, despite some economic uncertainty. This is an interesting dichotomy, Tim. Why do you think this is?
Well, I think Scott Bessent is a straight shooter. Ever since he started getting in, by the way, nobody knew who he was before he was nominated to Secretary of Treasury. And since he started going on TV, he's calm. He's got he doesn't double speak. He's not a politician. The man is successful, and he knows what we need to do to get prosperity in America. And so we're big fans of Secretary Bessent at Unleash Prosperity. We think that he will be a big part in moving us toward prosperity out of the Biden destruction of our economy. And so I do think that translates. Absolutely. They've put him out front and center. And I think that's been a smart move for the administration.
Well, the administration is making a lot of smart moves. President Trump has moved to put a new tariff on computer chips and pharmaceutical drugs. Brandon, I think this is a smart idea. Why? Because it's a national security issue, especially concerning our pharmaceuticals. But what other products do you expect the administration to actually assess and possibly levy a tariff on?
Well, I think they're looking at tariffs on a lot of products right now. Obviously, we've seen automobiles, steel, aluminum, copper, lumber, tomatoes have been the headline recently, Mexican tomatoes. But at the end of the day, these are going to raise prices for American consumers. And that's what makes me very, very nervous about all of these tariffs that are being imposed. The number one reason Americans elected Donald Trump to be president was to drive down prices. And I think Tim rightly touched on some of those points earlier in areas where he is helping to drive down prices, particularly in the energy sector. But if we see higher consumer prices on cell phones, laptops, vegetables, pharmaceutical products, I think Americans are going to get very upset very, very quickly, and that's going to cause some political problems in addition to, obviously, the economic problems.
Well, following suit with a lot of major tech companies, NVIDIA pledging $500 billion to manufacture AI chips and supercomputers in the United States. It was really exciting to hear this news yesterday, Tim. This is going to occur over the next 4 years. Your thoughts on this huge investment?
Yeah, it's so great to see these massive companies saying we're in on America. We're going to put our bet right here in the United States of America. And so I'm not surprised by it. We know what's coming. We know that we're going to get, tax reform, tax cuts, extending the Trump tax cuts, maybe lowering that corporate rate for made in America products here, which would be a great thing. We know what's coming. We know regulatory reform is happening right now. So we're seeing a thing. Let me just say this, though. We like the big companies making big investments, but just remember what drives this economy. It's small business. Well, those small and medium-sized businesses, those tier 2, tier 3 manufacturers in my hometown of Detroit, that's a huge part of this economy, and I want to see them thrive. I want to see them more confident and more predictability with the tariff structure that's happening right now. I do think that it's easier for a large corporation to just say, okay, the tariff's a little uncertainty, but we're going to make a big announcement, get a PR buzz by moving billions of dollars back to America. But what about the tier 2 and tier 3s, the smaller companies? We need to see them with a solid footing and a solid thing in place, which makes it all the more crucial that we pass the tax reform, that we get the regulatory reduction going and moving and more predictable.
Brandon, the thing is that when you mentioned that the American people, under the weight of Biden's high inflation, they actually suffered, and they're slowly trying to come out. I think the tax cuts, when it's passed by Congress, which is a integral part of President Trump's agenda, will actually provide a reprieve to small businesses as well as the American people. What say you? We only have about 20 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to make those tax cuts permanent. We need to make the standard deduction bigger to make taxes simpler for every American that's out there scrambling to do their taxes today. And we need to resist the urge to raise taxes. There's been this trial balloon that hopefully has popped to raise that top marginal rate. That's a tax increase not just on wealthy Americans, but on the job creators that Tim referenced, the businesses out there that are making jobs, that are making this country great. Let's keep taxes as low as we possibly can.
Thanks so much, Brandon Arnold. And for you, Tim Dozier, I have a special message for you. You said you said that you're from Detroit, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, the Knicks are playing the Pistons this coming weekend. So I have a message for you. Go Knicks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go Knicks.
Okay, all right. Hey,
we'll have to leave it there.
All right.
See you
I
later.
balanced my checkbook because of you, John. Just so you know, I balanced my checkbook because of you. Thank you. Thank you for
Awesome.
that.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.